Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a seriously fascinating and honestly incredibly complex piece of history. We're mapping out the sprawling, hyper-wealthy, and ultimately deeply fractured lineage of the bin Laden family. By digging into the source material, we're going to see exactly how a single bloodline navigated a century of extreme poverty, unimaginable wealth, and literally global conflict. Let's get into it.
Now, to ground us historically, it's actually really helpful to look at the names themselves. The surname Banu Laden translates directly from Arabic to sons of Laden, and the name Osama, well, that means a lion. His father actually named him after Usama bin Zaid, who was a famous companion of the Prophet Muhammad. Understanding these roots just kind of gives us a baseline for the family's identity.
Okay, so here's how we're breaking down this generational history today. We'll start with their Yemeni ancestry, then move into the era of the Saudi royal builder. From there, we'll examine the path of Osama, take a look at his militant heirs, and finally unpack the completely fractured family legacy that exists today.
Section 1. The Yemeni Ancestry. Our story kicks off not in mansions or palaces, but in a world of profound hardship in a small, arid Yemeni village called Al-Rubat.
Before we get into specific people, historians place the family's roots firmly within the lineage of the Qahtani Arabs. Now, this is a pretty significant detail because it means they have absolutely no historical link to the northern Qurayshi tribes or to the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad. So if you've ever heard those myths floating around, we can officially bust them right now.
What's truly staggering is the reality of Usama's grandfather, Awad bin Laden. Awad stayed in Yemen and lived a life of such crushing poverty that, according to historical accounts, his family often went several days without a single meal. Just imagine that. Out of this extreme environment, Awad had 3 sons, Muhammad, Omar, and Abdullah. And it's that first son, Muhammad, who is about to change the trajectory of this entire family forever.
Section 2. The Saudi royal builder. Let's move to the next generation and see how Mohammed bin Laden built an absolute empire. This is, without a doubt, one of the most dramatic rags-to-riches stories in modern history. During the First World War era, Muhammad left the poverty of Yemen and moved to present-day Saudi Arabia, basically starting out as a simple porter carrying heavy loads. But by 1931, he founds the Bin Laden Construction Company with just a handful of laborers. And check out the jump to 1940. In less than a decade, the guy becomes a multimillionaire. His life ultimately ended tragically in a plane crash in 1967, but by then, his empire was totally secured.
So how exactly did he achieve that kind of wealth so fast? Well, he caught the eye of the very first king of Saudi Arabia, King Abdullah ibn Saud. By keeping super close ties with the Saudi royals, Muhammad earned the title of Royal Builder. He snagged these massive exclusive government contracts and won the historic honor of renovating 3 of Islam's holiest sites, the Prophet's Mosque in Medina, the Haram Mosque in Mecca, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Palestine. The guy's wealth was so vast that sources say he used to travel between Mecca and Al-Aqsa for prayer using his own private helicopter. Incredible, right?
But the crucial point about Muhammad's legacy, even beyond the billion-dollar buildings, is the sheer scale of the family he created. Get this. Mohammed bin Laden had a staggering 54 children with 22 different wives. He essentially created a sprawling, deeply interconnected, and massively wealthy dynasty all by himself.
Which brings us to a massive historical question. Out of those 54 children, there was a boy born to Muhammad's second most prominent wife, Hamideh Gadarba. He was the 17th son. So how exactly does the 17th son of a billionaire royal builder grow up to become the world's most hunted man?
Section 3. The Path of Osama. We are now turning our focus to that 17th son, Osama bin Muhammad bin Awad bin Laden.
Tracing his path, you can see this incredibly sharp deviation from his family's corporate legacy. Born in 1957 in Riyadh, Osama actually started out studying economics and business and possibly civil engineering at King Abdul Aziz University. But then in the 1980s, everything shifted. He traveled to fight alongside the Afghan Mujahideen against the Soviets, and that is exactly where he laid the foundation for Al-Qaeda. Moving forward, he formally declared war on the United States in 1996 and 1998. Then, in 2004, he publicly claimed responsibility for the devastating 9/11 attacks. This triggered an unprecedented 2-decade global manhunt by a 50-country NATO coalition, which finally culminated in 2011 when he was killed in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
Right after his death, a very specific strategic decision was made regarding his remains. He was buried at sea in the Indian Ocean. According to the source material, this wasn't random. It was done explicitly to prevent a physical grave from being turned into a shrine or tomb for his followers. Section 4. Osama's militant heirs. You know, Osama's death definitely did not end his immediate branch of the family tree. He had 26 children with 5 wives, and several of those sons chose to follow right in his militant footsteps. Looking at those militant sons, we see a real continuation of violence. His son Saad was highly active in al-Qaeda and actually considered a successor until he was killed in a 2009 American drone strike. Another son, Khalid, was deeply embedded in the network and was killed right alongside his father in the Abbottabad compound. This basically left Hamza bin Laden, who was widely considered to be Osama's right-hand man and the next in line to take over.
Hamza's role in the network was huge. To consolidate his power and alliances, he actually married the granddaughter of Mullah Omar, the founder of the Taliban. This was a super strategic move designed to strengthen ties between al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And get this, while American media claimed Hamza was killed in a 2019 drone strike, reports cited in our source suggest he might have actually survived and is still operating as a senior al-Qaeda leader today. There are even claims he's grooming his own son, Osama II.
Section 5. A fractured family legacy. What is absolutely fascinating as we zoom back out on this broader history is seeing how the rest of this massive family tree completely splintered into vastly different worlds.
Just look at the extreme contrast between Osama's older stepbrothers. On one hand, we have Salim and Bakar. Salim successfully took over the multi-billion-dollar construction empire after their father's death, and Bakar later became its biggest shareholder. We're talking global corporate titans here. But on the exact same branch, you have another stepbrother, Mahrous, who radically turned against the Saudi royals. He actually supported the insurgents who violently besieged the Kaaba in Mecca back in 1979. It's a massive ideological split right there in the exact same generation.
And the generational contrast becomes even more staggering when you look at Osama's nieces and nephews. As we just discussed, you have Hamza, a globally hunted militant leader. But on the same branch of the modern family tree, you have Osama's niece, Wafa Dafour. She's the daughter of Osama's half-brother Yazlam, and she lives a fully Western lifestyle, working as an American model and singer. Honestly, it is hard to imagine a wider gap between two cousins. This divide exists even among Osama's direct children. While Saad and Khalid died in militant conflicts fighting for their father's cause, others took a completely different path. Osama's eldest son, Abdullah, lives in Saudi Arabia and runs his own private business, though he is under strict government watch. Another son, Omar, chose a quiet life in Europe or Qatar. Omar's story is particularly striking. Our sources note this specific detail about him, quoting, "He used to get training in al-Qaeda camps, but soon he got separated and has written a book against his father. He literally walked away from the militant camps of his youth to publicly disavow the violence his father championed." Conclusion. To wrap up this explainer, we have journeyed through an incredibly complex historical web today. We've seen how a lineage that started in the extreme poverty of a small Yemeni village ballooned into a dynasty of unimaginable corporate wealth before fracturing spectacularly on the global stage.
It leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to chew on. How does a single family tree, spanning just a few generations and carrying the exact same surname, manage to produce both a billionaire dynasty responsible for rebuilding the world's holiest sites and the hunted militants responsible for some of the modern world's darkest conflicts? The bin Laden family tree proves that history is never simple, and legacy is ultimately a matter of individual choice. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this deep dive helped you grasp the fascinating realities of this subject. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.